Princess Diana's lost letter to Prince William, finally revealed. Before her tragic death in a car accident in Paris in 1997, Princess Diana, the timeless icon of compassion and royal tragedy, left behind an unexpected legacy, a handwritten letter addressed to her beloved sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. Never publicized, not included in official wills or legal documents, this letter, according to accounts from close sources, is the final key unlocking the untold corners of her life. Diana was more than the people's princess. She was a mother who endured years of darkness, navigating the cold indifference of the monarchy and the betrayal within her own royal marriage. The letter, believed to have been written in the final weeks before she left England, is not merely a last testament, but a painful and profound self-reflection on love, defiance, and the loneliness of a woman who stood so close to the throne, yet was always kept on its margins. If this letter truly exists, it was not meant solely for the two princes. It is a message to the world about truth, the value of freedom, and the cost of courage. Diana's private letters. If you're reading these words, I likely no longer have the time to share everything I've kept hidden in my heart. The letter's opening carries a melancholic tone, like a farewell melody, signaling that what follows is not just a mother's heartfelt words, but a quiet indictment of a power structure that devoured her youth and her longing for genuine love. Diana wrote these lines not during a stormy night, but in the turbulent period of early 1996, just months before her divorce from Prince Charles was finalized. In the letter, she vividly describes the feeling of being framed in a role she never chose. I was chosen for my innocent image, my smile and a white dress, but behind the curtain of ceremony and pearls, I was just a young girl no one taught how to survive among wolves. The letter delves into each phase of her life, from her days as a naive 19-year-old stepping into Buckingham Palace to her final uneasy moments in Paris. Diana does not shy away from the bitter truth of her marriage to Prince Charles. She writes, "You may not remember, but our home was always filled with a chill no candle could warm. Your father loved someone else, even as he signed our marriage certificate. I knew it before the wedding, but I was too young to dare refuse a path already laid out for me." That someone else, Camilla, is referred to with subtle poignancy, a shadow that never left the corridors of his memory. Diana does not directly cast blame, but each word carries the weight of betrayal she suppressed for years. "When your father sent messages to her while we were on holiday in Balmoral, I cried alone in the bathroom and wondered if I was losing my mind. But in that silence, I learned how not to fall apart." The letter also reveals the silent battles Diana faced, not only with the media, but within the palace itself. She asserts, the press wasn't the most dangerous enemy, but rather the complicit silence of those behind the red velvet curtains. She was told to speak less, to avoid sharing personal opinions, and never to overshadow Charles's spotlight. Yet because she was so beloved, Diana became a threat to those who wanted the monarchy to cling to its outdated order. One passage, chilling in hindsight after her mysterious death, stands out. "If something happens to me one day, please don't ever believe it was purely fate's accident. There are forces that want me silenced forever, because my existence is an uncomfortable reminder that love and truth can still persist within cold walls." This detail once fueled public suspicion, particularly after her death in Paris in 1997. The letter, reportedly kept safe in a trusted lawyer's vault, was referenced during investigations but never fully disclosed. Now, if the princes have indeed found it among their mother's personal belongings, it would be the final piece illuminating the chain of pain she endured. Diana also devotes a significant portion to her role as a mother, the one thing that gave her true control and happiness. "You two are the only light in the dark tunnel I walk through. Every time I watched you sleep, I felt stronger than any throne could ever make me." She urges William and Harry to put feelings above ceremony, to choose partners who let them be themselves, not choices that merely enhance the royal portrait. The letter closes with a somber reflection, like a final goodbye. "If one day you become powerful men, remember that true strength lies not in authority but in compassion. Don't forget your mother was a woman who loved your father with all that remained after betrayal. It's said that wounded souls always leave traces." Diana's letter is the most poignant trace of a spirit never fully healed. It is not just a story, but an emotional map guiding readers back to the most hidden turns of late 20th century British royalty. Now, as her two sons have grown and faced their own life-defining choices, one embracing the throne's legacy, the other walking away, this letter serves as a reminder. Truth, no matter how long buried, will always find someone to hear it. Diana's protection of her children. Despite being stifled by glittering ceremonies and meticulously trained smiles, Diana Spencer never forgot who she was when standing before her two young sons. Not the Princess of Wales, not a global fashion icon, but a mother determined to shield, nurture, and love her children with every instinct, even if it meant defying an empire. From the moment William and Harry were born, Diana knew the environment they'd grow up in was no ordinary home. It was a place where emotions were regulated like Swiss clocks, where tears were scheduled, and sadness existed only in portraits. So she strove to create a safe haven, a small world where her boys could laugh, eat fries, play video games, and be hugged after nightmares, rather than starting their day with formal bows. She often told close friends, "I may have failed in marriage, but I will not fail as a mother." This wasn't an empty promise. It was a declaration of survival in a life riddled with betrayal and manipulation. In her handwritten letters, Diana didn't hide her pain or anger toward Charles, the man she once loved, forgave, and ultimately came to resent. She used no flowery excuses for him. She described his relationship with Camilla as a knife in the back, yet I was expected to smile and accept it publicly. It was a betrayal not just of body, but of spirit. Most painfully, she was forced to pretend it didn't exist for the monarchy's sake. Diana wasn't just angry at Charles for betraying their marriage, but for his dismissive approach to fatherhood. She wrote, "I know he loves you in his own way, but it's a cold, measured love, shown only when cameras are rolling." What infuriated her most wasn't that Charles loved another woman. It was his lack of courage to be decisive, honest, and put their children above all else. In the shadow of those lies, Diana's maternal love shone brighter than ever. She took William and Harry to places no prince was meant to go: AIDS hospitals, orphanages, slums in Angola, war zones littered with landmines. Not just to teach compassion, as people often say, but to show them the difference between truth and what's concealed. To help her boys understand that the world holds pains unspoken in palace briefings, and people deserving of embrace as much as anyone else. She knew this would draw criticism. She accepted it, because amid hundreds of advisors' warnings, thousands of media stares, and millions of public expectations, only two pairs of eyes truly mattered to her: William and Harry's. Diana wasn't a perfect mother. She had breakdowns, sleepless nights, moments when emotions spiraled beyond control. But that's what made her real. And her love for her sons was never shaped by royal protocol. In a leaked interview, Diana once said, "If they take my title, I still have my heart, and I still have my boys." This wasn't a lament. It was the declaration of a woman who knew her worth lay not in a crown, but in the love she gave, especially to the two small souls who held her hand and rested on her shoulder when the world grew too cold. Diana knew she couldn't protect them forever, but she believed that by showing them truth, by voicing her silent story, she was leaving a map, so that even if they lost their way, her boys would know what real love was, what was false, and what could never be compromised. Dignity, Diana's parenting style. Princess Diana became a mother for the first time when she gave birth to Prince William at age 20. Her transition to motherhood was immediate and transformative. Not just a role she accepted, but a mission she embraced wholeheartedly. Unlike royal mothers before her, bound by rigid traditions, Diana chose a different path. She didn't want to be a distant figure in her children's lives. She wanted to be present in every way possible. She broke royal norms by breastfeeding William, a decision almost unheard of in the royal family for generations. She even chose his name herself, rather than letting the palace decide. More importantly, she rejected the idea that royal nannies should handle most of the parenting. Diana was determined to be a hands-on mother, not a figurehead. Her devotion became even clearer when, just weeks after William's birth, Prince Charles had to travel to Australia. Traditionally, royal children stayed behind with staff, but Diana refused to leave her newborn. She brought William along, sending a clear message: no royal duty was more important than being with her child. As William grew, Diana continued to defy expectations. Instead of hiring private tutors to educate him within the palace, as was customary for royal children, she enrolled him in a local nursery school near Kensington Palace. Parents and onlookers were often stunned to see a princess personally dropping off and picking up her son, something nearly unthinkable in royal history. This wasn't a mere act of independence. It was a quiet revolution in royal parenting. Diana's efforts to give her children a normal life didn't stop there. She ensured William and his younger brother, Harry, experienced the world beyond palace walls. Their childhood wasn't just about grand banquets and royal engagements. It was filled with ordinary moments any child would cherish. She took them to McDonald's, not because she loved fast food, but because she wanted them to experience what regular kids did. She rode the London Underground with them, let them enjoy theme parks, and surrounded them with people who didn't bow or use formal titles. These weren't casual outings, they were carefully planned lessons. Diana wanted her boys to see life from all angles, to understand the world outside their royal bubble. According to her former protection officer, Ken Worf, she meticulously planned these trips, choosing the quietest times and minimizing security, sometimes even wearing subtle disguises to go unnoticed. She wasn't just giving them a childhood, she was teaching them empathy, a lesson that would shape them for years to come. Her commitment to compassion became even clearer when she introduced her sons to her charity work. In one powerful moment, she brought William to visit Centrepoint, a charity supporting homeless youth in London. There he met children and teens who grew up without families, education, or homes. For Diana, this wasn't just about exposing William to others' struggles. It was about ensuring he understood the responsibility tied to his privilege. Through her love, her defiance of outdated traditions, and her unwavering dedication to her children, Diana didn't just change royal parenting, she redefined it entirely. The unbreakable bond, Diana, William, and Harry, a mother's love amid a cold palace. By the early 1990s, as the marriage between Princess Diana and Prince Charles fractured beyond repair, the world witnessed the glossy mask of the British monarchy slip. Amid the ancient walls of Kensington Palace, relentless tabloid headlines, and the stifling weight of royal duty, Diana Spencer, still the Princess of Wales, forged her own path, becoming an unshakable anchor for her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. For Diana, motherhood was never something to delegate. As her personal life unraveled before the public, she wasn't just a mother shielding her children from the media. She was shaping a new generation of princes in a way unprecedented in royal history. She raised them with presence, tenderness, and a belief that empathy and emotional intelligence were the true foundations of humanity, not titles. She carefully chose their schools, Wetherby and then Ludgrove, not the flashiest, but ones prioritizing privacy and emotional growth. She didn't just send them there, she worked closely with teachers and staff, attending parent meetings, writing personal thank you notes, and ensuring that, at least within school walls, William and Harry could live as normal boys, unburdened by tradition or spotlight. After she and Prince Charles separated in 1992, the challenges grew. Parenting was no longer private, but under the scrutiny of the press and a judgmental nation. Yet Diana didn't falter. She drove her sons to school, attended sports days, and constantly reminded staff, "Let my boys breathe, live, be themselves." Many of Diana's handwritten notes to teachers, nannies, or friends later surfaced at auctions, vivid proof of a mother who fought tirelessly to preserve her son's childhood amid a cold war of power and public image. Each page, each line, was a fragment of an enduring maternal love, one even the monarchy couldn't control. In 1995, when Diana sat for her BBC Panorama interview before over 22 million viewers, the world could no longer ignore the deep fractures within the royal family. Yet, even as she exposed the dark corners of her broken marriage, her priority remained unchanged: William and Harry. She spoke of raising them with kindness, resilience, and inner strength, not with ceremony, decorum, or titles. Weeks later, Queen Elizabeth II pressed Diana to finalize her divorce. According to her butler, Paul Burrell, Diana was heartbroken, not just over losing her Royal Highness title, but because it meant one day she'd have to curtsy to her own sons per royal protocol. In one of the most moving moments of their bond, William, then just 14, is said to have told her, "Don't worry, Mommy, one day when I'm king, I'll give it back to you." Though never officially confirmed, this story endures as a symbol of the unwavering respect and love among mother and sons, a bond no crown could define, no institution erase. Freed from royal duties, Diana returned to what truly gave her life: campaigns for the homeless, HIV awareness, and a global ban on landmines. In private letters to friends and colleagues, her sons were always central. She wrote of William's kindness, Harry's vibrant energy, and her quiet fear that the establishment might mold them into men estranged from their own emotions. But her tragic death in 1990 severed that lifeline. Still, what she left William and Harry wasn't just an emotional legacy, it was a way of being, a way of living. Diana taught her sons that being a prince matters less than being human. And for her, being a mother was always a calling greater than any title in the world. A loveless marriage and the third woman named Camilla. On July 29, 1981, millions worldwide watched a shy young woman step into St. Paul's Cathedral to become the wife of Britain's heir to the throne. At 20, Diana Spencer seemed to be entering a fairy tale. But behind the ringing bells and her miles-long wedding gown, a tragedy was already being written. The marriage of Diana and Prince Charles was never rooted in love, but in an arrangement, a dynastic match between an heir and a noblewoman deemed suitable by image. Crueler still, even before the wedding, Charles's heart belonged to another, Camilla Parker Bowles. Camilla, the name whispered in shadows. Camilla was no stranger. She had been Charles's lover before he met Diana. But deemed unfit to be a future queen, their romance was halted. Charles married Diana and Camilla wed Andrew Parker Bowles. Yet the connection between Charles and Camilla never truly ended. To the public, Diana was the perfect princess. Beautiful, gentle, compassionate. But within Windsor's walls, she was a wife abandoned, wounded by Camilla's quiet, haunting presence. There were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Diana's famous 1995 interview line was not just a lament, but an indictment of both Charles and Camilla. A foretold collapse. From the marriage's earliest years, Diana sensed her husband's distance. Old love letters, late-night calls, a bracelet engraved with F&G, Fred and Gladys, Charles and Camilla's nicknames, that Diana stumbled upon, all became daggers piercing the young wife's heart. Diana battled eating disorders, depression, and relentless betrayal. Meanwhile, Charles, rather than confronting or healing the rift, sank deeper into his bond with Camilla. The royal couple became two lonely souls under one roof. They separated in 1992 and divorced in 96 after years of their private lives being dissected by the media. Camilla, third party or victim of the system. To the public, Camilla was once the face of betrayal, despised, mocked, even blamed for Diana's entire tragedy. But the truth is rarely simple. Camilla wasn't just the other woman, but part of a system that suppressed emotion, where personal love bowed to royal duty. Some argue that if Charles had been allowed to marry Camilla from the start, Diana's tragedy might never have unfolded. Others believe Camilla deliberately sustained the affair, refusing to let Charles go despite her own marriage, pushing Diana into loneliness and despair. From divorce to a fated death after the divorce, Diana began reclaiming herself. She became an independent figure, championing humanitarian causes like landmine removal and HIV/AIDS destigmatization. She also entered a new relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, son of billionaire Mohammed Al-Fayed. But her journey of renewal ended on the night of August 31st, 1990, when the car carrying her and Dodi crashed in Paris's Pont de l'Alma tunnel. The accident not only stole the people's princess, but sparked countless conspiracy theories, with Camilla, though absent, once again drawn into the vortex of public suspicion. Camilla and Diana's shadow. After Diana's death, Charles faced unprecedented public outrage. People didn't just mourn Diana, they saw in her tragedy the monarchy's cruelty, a place where true love seemed to have no home. Camilla slowly re-emerged at Charles's side, but for years she was viewed as the puppeteer in the shadows. It took nearly a decade for the public to begin accepting Camilla. Her 2005 marriage to Charles was subdued, far from the spectacle of his wedding to Diana. When Charles ascended the throne in 2022, Camilla was named Queen Consort, a title many felt should have been Diana's had fate been kinder. An open ending and an enduring legacy, nearly 3 decades after her passing, Diana's name remains an unhealed wound in Britain's memory. Her separation from Charles wasn't just a marriage's end, but proof of the cost when emotions are forced into the mold of duty and form. Camilla, no matter how deep her love for Charles, will always be a name tied to controversy. She prompts the question, can love be justified if it comes at the cost of another's pain? And Charles, now King Charles III, lives in an era where Diana's shadow still lingers around the throne. A shadow that cannot be dispelled, cannot be replaced, and will forever be remembered as the woman who loved and was hurt most deeply by the very monarchy she once graced.